My name is David Bell. I'm the chairman of the Council of the Orwell Prize and also of the Media Standards Trust. And it's my very great pleasure to welcome everybody this evening. For those of us that have come to several of these, will recognize that this is a fantastic change. And what it is great recognition of the extraordinary interest in these prizes and everything that they represent. So it's just fantastic to see everybody here this evening. I wanted to thank, first of all, the partners who are behind the prize, the Orwell Trust, Political Quarterly, and the Media Standards Trust, and our sponsors, Reuters and A.M. Heath, who are the literary agents of the estate of Orwell, and, of course, Richard Blair. And it's just the most wonderful thing that Richard is here with his son at this ceremony, and we just could not be more pleased that he's here and more grateful to him for helping to sponsor this whole event. And I also wanted to thank very, very warmly Gavin Freegard, who has organised all of this almost single-handedly in the most fantastic way, and it's a great testament to him that there are so many of us here this evening. So that's all I really wanted to say, and I have great pleasure in introducing David Taylor, who is the chair of the Orwell Trust and, of course, a fantastic biographer of Orwell. His book, Orwell, The Life, won the Whitbread Biography Prize in 2003. So it's a great pleasure to introduce David. Thank you very much.
Good evening. It's great to see so many of you here. This will be an exceedingly brief speech, in contrast possibly to one or two of the ones that follow. Heritage buffs may like to note that there is an original Orwell artifact on display this evening. I'm wearing the tie that Sonia gave Orwell as he lay on his deathbed at Christmas 1949. I'm allowed to wear it once a year, as my wife doesn't approve of wearing what she calls dead men's clothes. The Orwell Trust, to which Sir David Bell referred in his introduction, works with the Orwell estate to perpetuate his memory. Not that in some ways it needs very much perpetuating in what are decidedly Orwellian times. And we do a great many things. We sponsor an Orwell lecture every year at Birkbeck, with which our founder, the late Professor Sir Bernard Crick, was associated. And we've just begun just rolling out a series of schools lectures, which we hope will culminate in schools essay prizes, which is another way of moving the Orwell bandwagon forward. But the Orwell Prize, the Orwell Prizes are the jewel in our crown, which is why it's so wonderful to see so many of you at this terrifically impressive venue. It's our first time here, and I hope that we can perpetuate that. And it's a mark of how far the prize has come in the last few years, that when last year the judges were denounced by Private Eye, I think for nepotism or incompetence or something like that. But the Eye did make the point that the Orwell Prize was the premier prize of political writing in Britain. So I thought that that was a victory of a kind. And in however marginal a way the prize is assisting with the creation of new expressions in the English language. I refer, of course, to the intervention made by a former university chum of mine at the shortlist meeting last year, which gave rise to what the newspapers have now begun to call a Nick Cohen moment. But I hope that we shan't have perhaps any of those this evening. Anyway, all I would like to do, as I said, this is going to be very brief, is David has already thanked various people connected with the prize. I'd like to reiterate my thanks to Richard Blair, Orwell's son, for the great support that he gives us. And I'd also like to say hello to Orwell's niece, Jane, who is here this evening, another genuine connection with the man going back 60, 70 years. But the person I would most like to thank is Jean Seaton, our energetic, if not effervescent, director of the prize, without whose input we certainly wouldn't all be standing here this evening. I'd like to thank her very much for all the time and the trouble that she puts in. I'd like to thank her, I'd like to thank Gavin Freegard again, and I'd like to thank you all for coming before I introduce you to Jean. Jean Seaton.
What a wonderful moment for politics. That's what I feel, that this is a really exciting moment for political journalists, political writers, for us to all. I have never known so many people on the streets of Islington wearing very little, being female and young, talking about politics. It's just wonderful. So it's very, very exciting. I want to just thank, we have no money, but we have wonderful judges. And our judges every year toil away. And we are very, very grateful for all of our judges, for the blog prizes, for Richard Horton, who was the wonderful winner last year, for Una King, who is somewhere here. You know, these are we have highlighted blogs that everybody should read. We've done that, taking them out, distinguishing things, and I'm very proud of that. For the journalism, Peter Kellner and Roger Grave, again, wonderful journalists deciding from a very, very, very strong field. Rumours that British journalism is dead are wrong. And it may be a death throw, but there's fantastically interesting and important writing which keeps our societies clean, going on across the range of writing, wonderful stuff. Then the book judges, Francine Stock and Andrew Holgate from the Sunday Times. Again, a wonderful range of complex, interesting, perceptive writing about our condition in the world. So I really would like you all to thank our judges, because it's hard work. We beat them. We make them work very, very hard. So thank you to all the judges. Thank them. And my next pleasure is, this is the first year that we have had, Bernard Crick started this prize off. He was another great biographer, a sort of political biographer of Orwell, an extraordinary creator of political institutions from citizenship. His book on In Defence of Politics is still absolutely almost the best book on that issue. This year, Political Quarterly, one of our sponsors, we're very, very proud, are going to give the first Bernard Crick Prize for the best essay in Political Quarterly, a journal you should all read, along with buying all the books downstairs. So Andrew Gamble, who's an editor of Political Quarterly and a professor of politics in Cambridge, is going to give the first Bernard Crick Prize.
Well, it's a great pleasure to be here and to be announcing the first Bernard Crick Prize. This is to be awarded for the best political article published in Political Quarterly on an annual basis. Political Quarterly, ever since its inception, has encouraged clear and direct writing about public matters, and that's the main criterion for awarding of the prize. Bernard Crick had a long involvement with Political Quarterly. He was born in the same year as Political Quarterly, 1930, and he had hands laid on him by Leonard Woolf, the creator of Political Quarterly in the 1950s, and he had this long involvement with the journal ever since until his death. The prize is awarded to Francesca Klug, who is director of the Human Rights Project at the LSE. She's been also at King's College. She's been very active in human rights. She's been a member of the Equality and Human Rights Commission. She published a book in 2000 called Values for a Godless Age, published by Penguin. Our new Prime Minister, in his talking to Andrew Marr last Sunday, described himself as a liberal conservative, and he defined liberal as meaning that he supported liberty and human rights, and conservative because he was skeptical about plans to remake the world.